management companies in this country, the informal sector, the formal sector, to do this presentation, and also to thank IMANI again for this time for us to explain issues. When you have a problem in business, you look at what do you have, how to get where you want to be, and then you try to resolve it. So I humbly want us to look at, as a country, we have a challenge in sanitation or waste management. What are the resources available? What can we do? What has been done before which has failed, and the way forward? So I humbly want to just give a highlight of what must be done to solve the problem. Okay. So we have a beautiful sanitation strategy. In business, strategy is the implementation, is the action to resolve it up. So I think this forum is trying to arrest the solution. So Ghana, we have a national sanitation strategy. It's printed in millions. It was first printed in 1999, revised in 2010. DFID, the donors supported. And this plan spells out every roadmap to arrest the sanitation. And other developed countries in the whole world, viewers and listeners, it is by strategy you can arrest. When you want to play a football, the coach has a strategy. And through that strategy, a world football match is being played. If you want to build a house, you have an architect who draw the plans, and from the plans, the civil engineers, the builders are built on. This is Ghana's environmental sanitation policy strategy. And let's look at each of the pages, what has been done and what has not been done. I think if we follow this, that is where we can go now. So we have all the guidelines. We have the national environmental strategy. We have the district. We have everything there. Rural waste, rural sanitation model, household water. These are all the laws, the criminal offenses, legal and framework, everything that a country must have. The institutions, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Local Government have to get. It is already there. These are the areas, the list of components that have to go through, whether it is distilling of the drains, cleaning of the drains, cemeteries, disposal of dead body, everything, whether it is even pollution of the air, everything, Ghana, we have it. The ministries and the agencies is already there. So, the private sector in the policy, page 26, it says that the bulk of the environmental sanitation services shall be provided by the private sector. Is it there? Is the private sector there? Then we are complementing and then complying with the strategy. I believe that if anybody is talking out of this strategy, then it's not doing well. Then meaning that this strategy, it doesn't work for we to spend money, for the donors to support us and develop us, and to also have a best institution strategy and best practice.
I don't mean to cut you, but our position is that this strategy has failed.
Okay.
That's why we are in the mess.
Kofi, I'm trying to humbly explain to you. I'm talking on the part of the private sector, what we have done. If it has failed, you will see what we have done, and then that's why I'm giving you the pages. I also brought the book here. Then you compare those where we have failed and what, because we are trying to find solutions. Where they have failed, we fill in the gaps, and then we move forward. So it says that based under the supervision of public sector, especially the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies. So this is the policy. And is it done? The private sector, most of all the private companies are in the districts, are in the municipals, and we are working. So on the private sector part, we have complied with the strategy and we are working. The next one says that by the year 2010, 75% of the services in sanitation must be done by the private sector. In the year 2015, 90%. So when the issue comes that let us go back to the public sector, meaning that it's a diffusion of the strategy. The strategy says that it should go to the private sector. The private sector must be empowered, must be supported. And so this book and all this policy must be done. It's a minimum targets of collection and transporting by private operators in all the district capitals through franchise or contracting. And then in the year 2020, it should be 100%. So I'm not of the Syrian that let us go back to the public sector. Let us give it to the public sector. The policy says it must go to the private sector. The private sector need to be supported, need to be encouraged. When you are contracting loans from the public sector, give it to the private sector. The public sector shouldn't go and take loans and now manage it on itself. It should give it to the private companies for them to work. That is the policy. If this policy is not going to work, then I think as a country we have failed. And when we spend 9 years to develop a roadmap, best practices, in other words, to follow up, then the reason why some of these challenges are being handled or we are facing is that as Ghanaians, we say certain things very nicely, we write, take our time, write, but implementing become a problem. Let us follow this policy, and then we will get where we want to get. Now, these are waste management companies in Ghana here. Daben Waste is there, Jakora Waste, ABC Waste. Most of these companies have worked in this country for 30 years, 20 years. And to be interesting for you to know, 1994 is the time that privatization of waste management companies started. Go to the records and check. 1925, Accra City Council was established. 1925, they were established. 1994, they started contracting and giving it to the private sectors. So the issue of going to the public, government is moving to public-private partnership. So we must encourage the private companies to work. These are the companies who have experience, they have the knowledge, and you see, our waste smells. Our waste is not like the foreign waste where you get lighter waste. You need people who really have accustomed themselves, who really understand it and work it out. There was a company called Shanyong in the year 1985. Government gave $14 million to them to come and work in this country. They ran away. They were even charging $30 per ton and giving it to the local contractors, a subcontract at $5. We, the local private companies, we charge low. We work harder. And these are the companies. Now, these are the areas that are being allocated for each of them to work in Accra here. Zoom Lion controls 3 out of it. I think the mayor just said that about 15 areas. It's not Zoom Lion who is cleaning every place. We have 3 zones that we are cleaning. Now, these are the sections of each of the contractors that cleans. We have about 3,000 informal sectors. The tricycles and the other things that are the tricycles, the border taxis that are working, they are all there working. Now, what is sanitation? Sanitation is generally refers to provision of facilities, services for safe disposal of human urine and feces. The word sanitation also refers to maintenance of hygienic conditions through services such as garbage collection. So we the private sectors, we come in to collect garbage and then dispose it up. Let us don't always look at how this country was in the 1980s. This was the situation. And let's look at the policy, what has been done and what has not been done. So this was the situation that we're collecting of refuse. This was also the situation. We're using donkey carts, push carts, and other things. The waste cycle. That is my passion, that we, the private sectors, will share that. When you are deploying a strategy, you need the process to work well. If the process don't work and there's a failure, it becomes a problem. This is the cycle worldwide, internationally accepted, that collect waste and store it. Then transport the waste to either a transfer station or a treatment plant. And then when you get there, treat the waste. It's a cycle. Whether you run out of it or what, this is a cycle. And so let's see. We waste management companies or the private sector, we go to people's houses. If we go there and the waste is stored in a basket, we must take it. If it's on the floor, we must take it. The process of how the human being discharge the waste is not our process. It's not in our hand. And that is why we are talking about getting dustbins in each of the houses so that people will have the culture Waste is a culture, it's a process so that people can get how to get it. If people want to weave on the streets and there are no places for convenience, they will get it on the wall. Waste is practical. Waste is not theory. When you want to discharge any place and then you don't have open defecation will happen. So we must provide the necessary facilities for people to have them and discharge them. So we must have how we store waste, collect, transport, and discharge them. So on the policy, in page 26, we must have cleansing of designated areas and facilities, street drains, market, lorry parks, maintenance. That is there. And this is what the private partnership brought in Zoom Lion as one of the members of Environmental Service Providers Association, a member of them. I humbly want to place on record, sometimes because of certain happenings, human being takes to forget the past. In the year 2008, when Ghana was hosting the African Cup of Nations, Zoom Lion emerged in the year 2006 with tricycles. That was the knowledge. We partnered other private companies. We cleaned the stadium all. It was very fresh and new. We just have to go to Germany, learn from their practice. And then we came and we performed highly that everyone was commending. We were sustaining it. We brought in flowers from Kenya. We did everything everywhere. And it was going. The youth employment program, in the book of the youth employment, that's the National Youth Employment Program, they were going to use donkey carts and other things, wheelbarrows. It was Zoom Lion's innovation that brought tricycles. And today the tricycle have revolutionized to motorized tricycle that we have about 3,000. So I think the private sector has done very, very well. That need to be commended and supported. And I think that they have brought a lot of revolutionary in the waste management sector because it was not existent. So these are the innovations that the private sector, Zoom Lion and ESPA members brought into the sanitation sector. These are daily cleansing and everything. When you go to the UK, they are cleaning streets every day. You go to other countries, it is normal. You must clean the public areas and other things every day. These are the services. It's normal works that we do. These are all the things that the medians, you could see from early morning, the street of Accra is always neat. In the afternoon when the hawkers come. And that is it. I have been to Dubai. They clean at dawn. And nobody litters there. So one week, you see the thing. It is different from here. It's different from here. So no matter how the private sector does the work, you might think that is it. I've been to China. They clean every day. It was China that we brought this concept. It's there. Now, policy on the private sector involvement. On page, in the National Sanitation Policy, they are to support to produce machines, equipment, and tools. What Zoom Lion did was we brought in a manufacturer to come and manufacture waste equipment. Kofi, we brought in the year 2007, almost of the equipment here. We manufacture them here. We have partners.
You manufacture or you assemble here?
We assemble them here. Okay. We are manufactured tricycles, but we have a semi-knockdown assemble plant that does with the waste equipment. If we are to be supported, and the private sector is to be supported, we will get far. I'm saying that with this policy, the private sector is complementing and complying the policy so that it can have we can have a fruitful country. These are equipments. We have about 5,000 tricycles, more than 2,000 trucks. And we have an arrangement with companies. For capacity, the private sector has enough capacity to deliver. I boldly want to say that there's nothing that is different from discharging waste. Some of you, the trucks are even parked new, waiting for services to be worked on. These are the national sanitation gas. Government implemented it in the year 1910. Saman started at 1910. It was not new. Why did it fail? Then we must look at why. The private sector comes in to support. And when it's supported, some maximum effort are not being given, and then it becomes the problem. These are policy on vector control, page 26 of the policy. Everything is there. And this is what Zoom Lion and his partners came in to do. So nothing was done out of all mind of looking for certain, but within the context of the policy. These are all in the policy. These are all in the policy. On waste transfer station, because of the distance to Tema, as the mayor was saying, we brought in the transfer station to be having like a stopgap measure, to be able to transport the waste easier, so that the turnaround time, people from the cities, the tricycle can quickly discharge it up. It's in the policy of waste, of transfer of waste and then waste disposal. It's in there. It's there. This is the Achimota transfer station, and the Teshin one. This is also the Achimota. You can see the tricycles are discharging. So, as the mayor said, that 75%, 25% of the waste that have to be haulage have been increased to 75%. It's true, because now it is not as previous where you have to travel all the distance to Tema. The tricycles can quickly go to the transfer station. This is ISO modern practice in Turkey. We just went there, learned from them. We've traveled to Germany and other places. What they are doing there, we are doing the same. And the private sector innovation with the policy and government support, that's what we are achieving this. Now, policy on sanitary disposal of health care and hazardous waste is there. Page 17 is there. What has been done? This is what medical waste disposal was a challenge in this country. And when we go to pick the waste from the hospitals and clinics, the solid waste and the medical waste, human parts, are all boxed together. What we did was to bring in, and these are the hospital facilities we have in Ghana, 3,217. Only 33 has incinerators. So the 2,000 over, no incinerators. What we did was to bring in an autoclave. What we are fulfilling the policy and the strategy. So all the infrastructure that have to deal with waste in this country, the private sector have put in place. The only thing is enforcement and the necessary support to be given to the private sector, not to duplicate efforts. The duplication of efforts makes it, we go back and we go forward, and then it seems like nothing is happening. But a lot of things have really happened. These are the medical waste. I was looking at the funding that we have received from donors for the past 3 years, 2011. This is a statement from government, 2011 to 2014. It's about 1 billion that we received from donors into supporting of the sanitation and the wash in the wash sector. And we were looking at how much has been invested into the private sector. This is just 3 years. So when you have a 10 years that the private sector have taken 1 billion cedis, this is 3 years, which is $1 billion. So you can see the private sector has inadequate funding. You buy your own truck, you wait for money to be paid, and so many challenges that the private sector, but still, the private sector is working. In developed countries where other colleagues that we visit, you have a loan term to be paid over 7 years and 10 years. These are landfills, and I humbly want to just inform to the listeners and all viewers and ladies and gentlemen here that these are for the past since 1991. Landfills that have been constructed in this country, they were 17. The minimum years that one has spent is 10 years. 10 years. And this is the Kpon landfill. The Kpon landfill was constructed under the World Bank. It was $10 million. $10 million. And it's full up. You can't pick any waste from there, and this is the situation. Now, when a landfill is like this, it was an engineered landfill. And the overflow, the landfill process goes that when you manage it, you have to cap it, fill it, and then you have more on it. You have a situation where you have about 300 trucks at a time. You will not even have time to be capping. So the challenges of landfill, what we did was that these are with our research team, with the universities in Ghana, and you see, ladies and gentlemen, we have the best universities in the world in this country. Legon is there, KNUST is there. These are research institutes which are helping in environmental engineering. We can learn from them. And so with them, we saw that the composition of our waste, 61% was organic. And out of this 61%, what we have to do is to comply go into the policy. And the policy talks about provision of management, waste treatment, and recycling disposal. So we just went into the compost plant, fulfilling the policy strategy. So if we work with the strategy and we continue, we will deal with the solutions. I humbly want to place on record that most of the infrastructure with dealing and solving the problems, the private sector have done it. And this is the compost plant. We are able to produce about 2,000 bags of compost that or the landfill could not produce. So we should have more of compost plant. The compost plant in Accra is 160 acre land. 30 acres has been used. So Kofi, we have another 130. If Tema is getting full,
You brought me in.
I will
Hold
please.
on. Are you saying this compost plant is in Accra?
It's at Aji Kotoku here.
Are you aware? It says how many? What's the size?
Please, the size is 130 acre land. And
Hold on. Are we using it?
we are using it.
So why do we have a problem with landfill and waste disposal?
Let me explain here, please.
Uh-huh.
Part of the vehicles go to Teba, and part of the vehicles come to Ajin Kotoku. Ajin Kotoku processes 600 tons daily. Accra generates 3,000 tons. So the rest, that is where it goes to.
Is that the maximum capacity of this place?
Yes, please.
600.
600 tons.
And you get all
the waste. It comes there every day.
I mean, you get your 600 tons to
Yes,
process
please.
every day.
Yes, please.
So the capacity is full.
It's full. So what we have done is that we are expanding this to 2,800 because the land is 160 acre land and it's only 30 have been used.
Wait.
Kofi, with government support to expand this, we don't need any landfill. We can process the compost plant and move on.
Okay, hold on. I need to nail it. So we get. Okay, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Minister, are you saying because landfills became an issue? I beg you, landfills became an issue. Capacity is an issue. Excuse me, we are on there. I beg. Are you saying, sir, that you can expand this thing to take care of Accra's full waste generation?
Yes, please. Kofi, let me explain.
Do you need government support?
Yes, please. Let me explain to you. This landfill was constructed with a bank loan by the private sector through Stanchart. We are even paying the debt as we speak now. And the private sector in developed countries, I've visited Japan, I've gone everywhere, and they are professionals here, they are development partners here. The private sector don't get into high investment like this. But we took it upon ourselves that we must lead, we must support. This is our country. We have emotional part of this. So we did this. If government give us
How
support,
much was that?
this cost us about $40 million.
$40 million.
Yes. If government give us support to expand this, I'm telling you, look, this year,
Please,
last year,
sorry, I don't cut you. 3 years, you've had $1 billion. All right. So why can't we have 5 of these? So we are on solutions. Why can't we have 5 of these ones and just knock the problem off?
How many years have we had $3 billion?
Hey, he just put up the statistic that in 3 years
All
we've
I'm
had $1
saying
billion.
that We've only been in government 1 year.
Please.
Hold on.
Hold on.
We're talking about the nation.
Yes, but hold on.
And the point is,
Hold on.
Please listen me
Okay,
out.
I'll get up.
No, hold on.
Okay, his time.
Let me make the point very clear.
You sit down. Hold
It's
on.
important. Sit down.
I am moderating. Hold on.
No. Let me speak. Let me speak.
Let me ask the question.
Let me speak. The
What-
point
what-
simply is this: we have never had any attention on sanitation the way we're getting it now.
Where is the money?
All these issues have not been. I should ask all the other previous governments.
Okay,
No,
you
Mazam.
let him finish. You
1
finish.
year.
You let
1
him
year
finish.
with government.
You let him.
We are trying to streamline things.
Let him
We're trying to
finish.
ensure that the money goes where it should go.
Let him finish.
And it's a policy of government that we should not have any landfill site anymore. That's why I started with resource management. The value is in the resources that we should recycle and transform into compost or any other material that would be usable for us. So that's in consonance with what he's talking about.
You let him finish. The only
As a
point is
nation,
that
as a nation,
it's time.
whatever we vote, let's look at the way forward. With the ministry leading the way, streamline the system, we get the right results.
Take $40 million. We should have 10 of them. Please go ahead.
So I humbly, the private sector is pleading serious government support. We cannot go and contract loans to do this. Now, after the recycling at the compost plant, you see, developed countries have developed a measure that, starting with sometimes initial segregation, has serious challenges. So all the waste can come to a plant where it can segregate them, and that's what we are doing. So when you come to the plant, after the composting have been segregated, you have the plastics, metal, and everything, and then through this, you move into serious recycle. So nothing is called waste. You get the compost 61%, the other ones you are recycling them and converting, adding some just granules, you are able to get the dustbin. And this is what the private sector, it is here. Zoom Lion is the first company. This, we don't even have it in West Africa. You can't have this in, show me a country in West Africa that has a compost plant. It's only Zoom Lion. Who has done this? It's only Zoom Lion that have done this. And so the credit and the due and the support must be given to this company. Now, in the year 2007, when we are talking about dustbins, it is the only company who started free dustbin is Zoom Lion. In the year 2007, we started saying that get a dustbin free, and then so that the whole thing was that to bring a culture, waste is a culture. Once the dustbin is there, people will dispose into it. So we must enhance this and support this, and then depend.
Are you still doing this dustbin thing?
Pardon, please?
The dustbin?
Yes, we are doing
still doing it.
Yes, we are doing it.
Okay, please
and
go
then we also produce the inner liners. All these factories are here. The factories are existing. The factories are working. We have number of workers working with them. They are all here. Now we have a new compost plant we are constructing in Kumasi, and Kofi, ladies and gentlemen, it's a waste environmental park. You have weighing bridge. You have so many things there to convert the waste into other valuable things. This is it, and this is 100% private funding, contracting loans, and doing this with the necessary support of government. We will get far. The private sector is putting up the infrastructure, and then government will the necessary resources and support will get there. In other countries, government does this himself. In Ghana, with the private sector has done it himself. We are talking about liquid waste. The liquid waste issue which we're talking about on the policy page 36 is there. When you look at this, you see how the liquid waste issue that was at Lavender Hill. It was a 100-year problem. Through the support and the needed arrangement of government, Zoom Lion and its partners have solved the problem. So in terms of the strategy failing, I would say that the private sector has put in certain measures so that it doesn't fail. There might be some challenges, but the impact of the private sector have done it well. And then you have industrial waste. This is what we have done. You have other drainage system, the flooding that the mayor spoke about. You could see that we came in as a private. We brought dredging machine. It is dredging. That is why we have so many downpour. But still, no kind of flooding have ever happened since 2015. The private sector, the expert members are doing this. Then you have the Volta Lake. You have capacity building. We have so many universities that we've partnered with that we are working. We have Harvard. The assembly members were there. I happen to be on Harvard board in South Africa, the West Africa.
I hope you're running
board.
up.
Huh?
I hope you're running up.
Oh yes, I'm running up. I'm running up. That's it. And then capacity building. We do a lot of exchange programs. We go to other countries to learn the practice and then come here. So it's something that we are aware of. And then we have people that we have trained, qualified people. It's not just we running a waste management company. The expert members are very experienced. Go to Stanley Owusu, go to Jakora, and Asadu. They are all experienced people there, and Zoom Lion has more. Zoom Lion is a multinational. We are working in other countries. We are in Angola, we are in Guinea. We go for tender, we do integrity work there. It is not about the company taking advantage of issues here. We were yearning to be a multinational from the 2006. And we are there. We are in other countries. We are consulting for companies in Nigeria and other countries. These are operations in other countries, Angola, Sierra Leone, and you can see them there. Some of the CSR. These are the challenges that we face. You are cleaning. And then people go and then throw the waste into the garbage.
I think you should be running up.
Yes, please. Others to come. Attitudinal problem is one of the challenges that we are facing.
No, okay. Problems, no. We want solutions.
Okay.
I don't mean
okay,
to
let me give you. I'll give you the solutions, please.
Time.
Enforcement and other things, non-payments. Now, please, Kofi and all. In Ghana, worldwide, this is from World Bank report. The collection of waste, high-income countries should charge 85 to 250. Low middle income charge 20 to 50. That's the rate and the price that if you want to have value for money. In Ghana, it is 18.6. On the landfill at Tema that we are managing, it should have been $15 to $40 per ton. We are charging 4.2. We are saving this country because we love this country.
Okay.
On the composting, it should be $10 to $40. That is this is the World Bank prices.
Okay, because of
we are
time,
charging $80.
Sorry, very sorry, but hopefully when we get to the discussion, a few issues will come up. Because of time, we need to, I hope you've gotten to the end.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
please stay around.
I'll just finish that. The waste bin let's have the waste bins distributed everywhere.
Good.
Let us also support the private sector very well. They are doing very well.
Good.
And then we'll get all the solutions that we
Good.
need. Thank you very much.
Good.